Just want to know a little bit more about you and where you're from.
Of course. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you so much for providing this incredible opportunity. Obviously, absolutely love your podcast. I feel like I've listened to a couple of episodes like in a fall, but I don't think that I like realized that it was from you. You know how like Spotify sometimes provides you with like recommendations. So I was like, oh my God, that looks interesting. So
Wow,
that's
I
how I
never
found
knew
you. So
that.
yeah, absolutely love it. Thank you so much for doing all the work that you do. So I'm a personal branding coach. I mostly work with service providers, entrepreneurs, primarily people who are like selling their services, like photographers, makeup artists, who are like hands-on into the important work that they do on social media. It's kind of this like extra thing that they need to do. So it helps them build their personal brand to attract more clients or to build additional revenue streams, like for example, to build like their digital product, any kind of like a workshop to teach people in a very similar niche that they are. Uh, so yeah, that is what I do. And I live here in Vancouver, Canada, but I'm originally from Russia.
Oh, I love that. I'm a Canadian girly as well. I live in Halifax, so on the totally opposite coast. But I'm so happy to have you on here. I was looking through your Instagram and your personal brand is so incredible, and obviously
Oh, you're
that
so
is
sweet.
what you're an expert at, but just the energy that you radiate off and how clear you are with your brand messaging and your branding in general is just incredible. So I'm just so excited to navigate our conversation today because with personal branding, and it really includes diving deeper within ourselves and understanding ourselves more and really looking at like our personality, our vibe and energy on like a bird's eye view. And that can be really daunting. It can be an emotional roller coaster as well.
Oh,
So I'm so excited to talk to you today. We're going to be diving deeper into emotional well-being when we are building our own personal brand. So tell me a little bit more about, the people that you work with and what are some obstacles that they typically face when it comes to the early stages of building a personal brand.
of course. I feel like the absolute hardest step when you're building your personal brand is understanding that it's not really personal. It's when you're building your personal brand, you're kind of building an opinion about yourself. You're kind of dictating what other people will talk about you when you're not around.
Mm.
This is what personal branding is. So you are just being in charge of the narrative for other people because other people will talk about you anyway. You're just telling them what to talk about.
Mm.
However, this is like the process when you are stepping out, exactly like you said, looking at yourself from like this bird eye view and realizing that that's not actually about you. This is just about this persona that you're building. And it's kind of starting, think about yourself as a strategist, not as a person, and stepping out from who you are, your entire story, all of your life experience, both good and maybe not so good as well, and realizing that not every single one of them needs to be part of your personal brand, and also not every aspect of who you are is going to be related to what it is that you are trying to achieve. So the hardest part is separating yourself from your personal brand, separating you as a person and starting building a brand. This is the hardest part, and there is so many emotions obviously attached, so much fear obviously as well, because I feel like as a society we often attach ourselves to any experiences that we have done, any wins, any achievements, any stories that we tell about ourselves to ourselves. We think that those are the part of our stories, but realistically, our story, our brand is whatever we decided that it's going to be, and that's definitely super hard.
Yes, I love that you shared, you get to control the narrative, right? Because we as humans, we're so multifaceted and there's so many different lenses and personalities to ourselves in different settings and everything as well. So I love what you shared about thinking of it as a more strategic side of things, like sitting down and planning exactly like what are some of the sides of you that you want to share? What are some things aspects of your personal brand that you're going to be showcasing. So I love the way that you map that out. Um what what would you say is when it comes to personal brand and building that, when we're sitting down and we're like, shoot, I feel like I know nothing about myself, even though like you are yourself, right? So when it comes to that, what are some things that you would recommend in order to map out or understand ourselves on a deeper level to share strategically on social media?
Love this. Absolutely love this. Obviously, building your personal brand is, you have to understand yourself and you have to know the stories that you are trying to tell. You have to know the goals that you are trying to head to. So I feel like the very first and like absolute the most foundational thing is understanding what it is that you are trying to do. If I know that me as a human being, I have different roles under my umbrella. I am a coach, I am a daughter, I am a sister, I am a wife, I am a partner, I am a friend. Those roles are not necessarily what I'm trying to capitalize on.
Mm,
Me as an expert, me as a coach, this is something I'm trying to capitalize on. So this is what I will focus on for my long-term goals, for what I'm trying to achieve, because those other roles and maybe some of those other values are not as relevant for me. So it's understanding what it is that you are trying to do in the long run, in a long-term capacity.
mhm,
So first things first, understanding what it is that you are trying to do. Are you trying to promote your business? Are you trying to get more clients? Are you trying to promote your services? Are you trying to get more students? So the very first thing is definitely be aligned with your goals and understanding what it is that you are trying to do. And second thing, my absolute favorite exercise that I typically give to all of my students, look at all of your experience from the moment that you start making your first money.
mhm.
Like, for example, I made my first money when I was 16 and I was a home baker. Like I would like bake cakes and then I would deliver them to like different restaurants, to different coffee shops. And this was how I made my very first money.
I
They were
love it.
obviously like very, very little money, like nothing too serious, but you know, it was fun.
Mhm,
And then from that moment that you start making your first money, write down year by year every single thing that you have actually done. Because when you're building your personal brand, one of the hardest things is realizing that the wins and their achievements and all of the great experience you have done, it wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't that universe just like magically made it happen for you. You made this far because you're brilliant, because you're smart, because you know your skills, you have the knowledge, you have everything that you already need.
mhm,
So you need to own those experience and all of the stuff that you have achieved, because that will be also part of your brand. So go year by year or like job by job and outline every single thing that you've done. And believe me, like if you will do this exercise and like actually gonna do this exercise, there is so much stuff that you have done but you probably haven't given yourself credit for, because you're like, oh well, I was just like part of the team, so that, or that I was just lucky. That's just happened. My manager just gave me this opportunity. You know, like we're always trying to downplay our wins and
mhm,
our emotions and our success as well. With personal brand, it doesn't work. If you're gonna downplay your success, your community, your audience will downplay your knowledge, your expertise, and your brand as well. And it's not unfortunately gonna go really far. So owning up to your and taking credit for everything that you have done, that's obviously a very big part. And then the next thing that I always recommend anyone is just write down your story. Like imagine if there would be a Netflix show about you, what would it be called? Who is the main character? What are they doing? What are their challenges, roadblocks that they're trying to overcome? What is their, how do they make money? Who are their friends? Who are their surroundings? What is they passionate about? Why they're doing what they're doing? And the biggest questions when it comes with this exercise is like, well, I have so much stuff that I'm trying to figure out that it's very hard for me to write just like one storyline. Sure, but if you look at the biggest TV shows that you're all obsessed with, like for example, Friends, every
mhm,
single one of them has multiple storylines that happening, where there is a one storyline, for example, with Chandler looking for his like life passion, depending obviously on the season, like he's doing his work. His second storyline would be his marriage with Monica, how they're like having new lessons, overcoming new challenges, or getting closer together. His next storyline would be his relationship with his friends. Next storyline would be his relationship with his parents. And all of the storylines, they are equal to each other.
Mm.
And one storyline doesn't become less or doesn't become bigger if one or another storyline is taking more attention in this moment. It's just at this exact moment, at this exact episode, for him, it's way more important than anything else. And the same way works for you, where you as a personal brand, you're just telling stories. You're just telling different stories at different angles, depending on what it is that you're going through life right now, right?
Mhm.
So your story doesn't become less, or your story doesn't become bigger, simply because this is what you're interested in. If you're currently building a business and this is where 100% all of your focus and attention goes to, then this is the most important story to tell. And there is always a story to tell. There is always something that's happening with you. There is always something that's happening in your mind,
Yeah.
because we're never like just, in a complete silent, everything on pause stage. There is always some thinking process. There is always some changes internally or externally that's happening with you. So tell that story.
I love that so much, and I love the reference that you made for the TV show Friends. I'm obsessed with the show Friends, and truly with the characters in the show, you can really see them on a deeper level. Like, obviously they're just characters, but when you, like you said, they're different storylines and their different lived experiences through different obstacles and wins. Especially, I would say Rachel as well, and in her character development, from starting off breaking off a wedding, and then leaning into waitressing, and she really stepped on the path of her passions in the fashion industry. So it's really incredible, the way that you've outlined that, and so true. Like, your lived experiences can really, like, make you who you are, and the stories that you have to tell. And there are so many different aspects in the past year or 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, that you get to share. And I feel like one of the things that I hear a lot from female founders is like, is this even worth sharing? Like, how does this relate to what I'm trying to do? How does this actually inspire my ideal clients and wanting to work with me and get to know me on a deeper level and grow this community? And we often face like this obstacle of like, is my story enough? Is this interesting enough? Is this something that is relatable? So obviously that comes with a lot of mindset blocks and emotional turmoil in that sense, because you're facing this obstacle. So what would you say is something that they can implement in their day to day to kind of work through those mental obstacles when it comes time to actually share their story or share these aspects of their lived experiences, and stories as a business owner, and also years before you became a business owner as well?
Love this. Absolutely love this. I've, in complete fairness and honesty, I've struggled quite a lot with this about like, am I worthy enough of taking up people's space? I remember when I launched my very first coaching cohort in June of last year, I was in complete mess, like, honestly, because I had an incredible group of like 12 people, and they all were so successful in their different ways. And I remember just thinking, who even am I to take up their space twice a week for hour and a half, 2 hours per time for the duration of 3 months? Who even am I to take up that space? So I completely agree, completely can relate. But the question that really kind of switched my mindset and made me think that, you know what, I will take up this space. It's my time to shine now. And the question was, I think I saw somebody on, I think I saw it on somebody Instagram, and it was like, there is a man with twice as little experience, but twice as much knowledge, or twice as much confidence, doing what you're doing for twice as much money. And it's simply a confidence game. It's 100% fake it till you make it kind of game here, where I do work with quite a lot of men, and like I network with a lot of men in different industry, especially thanks to my husband who is in IT market. I do connect with quite a lot of men in IT, and the level of confidence that they have, it's not necessarily related to the level of knowledge that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's absolutely freaking beautiful. When I see that every single time, I'm like, hell yes,
Yes.
love this. Also would love our female founders and our female creators and coaches and everyone to be learning from the same experience as well. Whereas they're like, well, I only match 2 out of 10 job descriptions that they're asking for, but I'm gonna apply it anyway and I'm gonna get the job.
Mm-hmm.
For us, for women, where I feel like it's embedded in our brain to question our value, to question our worth, and to really go above and beyond when it comes to our experience and expertise, and be like, oh, this is a marketing coordinator position, so I'm gonna go and get my PhD in order for me to get a $25 an hour kind of salary. For us, if there are 10 points on a job description,
Mm-hmm.
and if you only match 9, you're like, well, no, I'm not qualified enough to do that. Who am I to take up that space from somebody who can match 10 out of 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's 100% where you need to there is no way for you to be like, you know what, I am 100% ready. I am ready to take up the space. The only thing that can happen here is when you're changing the narrative internally, where you're like, I will take the space because I deserve it and I'm worthy. And even if you don't believe it for 100%, even if you believe it in like good 60%, you will be good. Like those
Mm-hmm.
60% are good enough. You don't need to aim at this like perfection level. You just need to aim at it's good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is find somebody who is really rooting for you, who really wants you to succeed, who really wants you to grow. Have a friend who will be cheering you on, or have a partner, or maybe have a mentor who will be your not 100% your number one cheerleader at whatever it is you do.
Mm-hmm.
But you do need someone to believe in you so you can believe in yourself. I've been extremely grateful in that area of my life, where I have my very big support circle who I absolutely love, and who I will be unconditionally grateful for the rest of my life. And they're definitely the reason why I could go and do my business, why I could go and open my coaching business, and like believe that I can actually do that, because there was somebody before who already believed in me. So friends are extremely important. Your circle 100%, and you need to be in an environment that wants you thrive,
Mm-hmm.
so you will be more likely to do that.
I love that so much. And for those who are tuning in, like, don't undermine the impact of what you will do for other people. Like, I am a firm believer that each person on this planet, you have created a ripple effect on someone's life. And so stepping on this journey and supporting your clients in your community, like you are creating a ripple effect in their lives and bettering their business and quality of life and reality and such as well. When you were sharing, basically, like believing in yourself and obviously it's going to be hard one minute or the other, momentum and motivation is so like important in helping you like carry you along, but that's not going to look like your reality every single day, right? You are gonna wake up one morning like, yes, I'm ready to do this, grind everything out, hustle, hustle. And then the next day you wake up and you're like, oh, am I even seeing any progress, right? This morning I was listening to a podcast episode. I don't know if you've heard, but Mel Robbins, she
Mhm.
has an incredible podcast. I highly, highly recommend any female founder, but any person to tune into her. But something that she shared was, outlining this acceptance speech from this artist. Her name is Victoria Monet, and she was working in the music industry for 15 years and writing songs for like Ariana Grande and all these famous artists, but never really released her own music and found success in that. 15 years in the making. She finally won a Grammy Award for her own song. And the way that she, had her acceptance speech, she was sharing, like, this experience was like, I relate a lot to being a plant, right? In the early stages, like you're a seedling, you're in the soil and it's darkness all around, right? You're figuring things out. You have to be in the right environment. You have a lot of work to impact to actually make a plant grow, right? You water, sunlight, weather, all of those things, and that contributes to your own growth as well, and understanding yourself as a personal brand, but also, the discipline and the everyday tasks that you need to incorporate into your day-to-day business life in order to see the results that you want to see. So I think with personal brand as well is also leaning into personal growth, and I feel like they play alongside with each other. So how would you recommend showcasing, personal growth in your personal brand on social media? So, for an example, you're stepping on a path to for your fitness journey, and you want to kind of showcase that. How are some tips or tricks that you would recommend to navigate this, these different ventures to your personal growth?
I love this, and thank you so much for sharing this story. That's like,
Mhm.
that's so incredible. I was just sitting here, it's like, wow, like absolutely agree with that. I feel like when you want to share a story about your personal growth, and honestly, realistically, any growth at all, there are two things that I want to address. First one is show, don't tell. So don't just tell people, I will be doing this and that, and
Yes.
then you never talk about it ever again. If this is something that you really want to tap into and this is something you really want your audience to know, bring up it in conversations when during your stories, during your reels, if you're doing like IG lives, podcasts like you do, Vicky, here, bring it up as whatever references points that you can, if it's important to you and if it's something that you really want your audience to relate to as well.
Mhm.
So definitely a mindset of showing instead of telling, because if you will just tell a person, hey, I run I don't know, 5 miles every single morning, because they're like, cool. But
Yeah.
if you're gonna show it and really tap into it, explain why it's important to you, talk about maybe there were like some reference points for when you were like back in a childhood you used to run and now you weren't and now you're going back to running. This is so hard, and it is just as hard as building your personal brand, but it's endurance, you're going to persevere, like all of this stuff. There is always a story to tell with
Mhm.
absolutely any point. The second one is switching your mindset a little bit when you're talking with your community, because people often perceive their community like something that lives completely on another planet. They have no idea who you are. You really want to look presentable to them. You really want to look professional. You want to look like you have your shit figured out, pardon my language.
Mhm.
And that's not always the case, because you're human, I'm human, we're all humans. Nobody has their shit figured out. Like, let's be super honest here,
Mhm.
where you want to talk to them, not from the point I am up here high and you're down below, and I'm talking from the point where I will teach you and I am so great and I'm from like on my high horse and you are a nobody, but you're talking to them from the position of equality.
Mhm.
And when you're talking to them from this point, it will be much, much easier for you to actually build a relationship with them and to build friendship with them specifically. And whenever we have people, I see a lot on Instagram, people complaining about like, oh my God, my story reach are so low, people are not engagement, and people not engaging, my reels are so low, like etc. etc. People are not engaging when they don't know who you are, when they're
Mhm.
confused about anything that's happening in your life, or they're genuinely, you don't give them any points to connect with you. The
Yes.
same stuff is with friendship. People trust people when we have seen, for example, proven experience that this person is a trustworthy, this person is someone we can rely on. It's like if you told your secret to a friend and that friend went ahead and told your secret to 70 other friends, you're not going to trust this person. And the only reason why you're not going to trust this person is because it's based on the actions that this person has taken in order to not have your trust anymore, right?
Yeah.
It works absolutely the same when we are building a relationship with our followers. Our followers needs to see how we are acting in our day-to-day life, what we are doing, how we are operating, what kind of stories are we telling, and all of those stories, it's pretty much the same what we would tell to our friend one-on-one, like what stories that you're typically telling your friend. And when you, for example, you just stumble upon your new fitness journey, maybe you're like me, I just started doing spin 4 times a week, absolutely love it. And I tell every single friend of mine about it, that
Yeah.
it's like, oh my God, the first 3 times I came there, I would like ride that stupid bike and think, why do I hate myself so much to the point that I keep coming here? Now I absolutely love it. It's so much fun. It gives me so much clarity. My busy brain is calmed down, and I'm so excited to go there every single week, every single time I go. That wasn't the journey when I started. So this is a story that I typically tell every single friend of mine that I've been seeing in the past couple of weeks. Exactly the same story I could easily tell to my followers.
Mm.
Where I could absolutely easily tell them, oh my God, you guys. So I started the spin journey. Hated it at the beginning. Absolutely sucks. Every single time I would go, I would be like, why, Daria? Why do you hate yourself so much? Now I absolutely love it. I go 4 times. I'm thinking to commit to 5 times now,
Mm.
right? And this allows them to connect with me and me connect with them as well on
Mm.
exactly like I would connect with my friend. Obviously, boundaries super important. There is like you don't wanna
Yeah.
share something that like you wouldn't typically share. But think about this relationship not from a perspective you're like best friends forever, you will die at the same day kind of stuff, but a very good, very close acquaintance where you can easily share quite a lot of stuff,
Mhm.
uh, boundaries permitting, of course.
Yes, I love that you brought that point up in, sharing stories and such. One of the biggest game changers for me for leveraging personal branding was definitely sparking conversations, actually having conversations, and then sharing these conversations, right? So, like you said, really incorporating your audience into the conversations that you're having. Asking reflective questions or asking for opinions. What are your thoughts on this? That, of course, relate to business. And obviously, as business owners, we have a lot of things in common, right? Typically, like caffeine or our office spaces, how we stay organized as business owners, like mindset, so many different activities, but just like as being female founders in general as well. So, sparking these conversations and then actually having these conversations, whether on a coffee chat or in the DMs, but really, like you said, stop leaning into it as you are on this high horse and you're just talking through your ideal clients and instead really navigating these conversations. Take your time to listen, take your time to hear what they have to say, because a lot of times, like, when we let that ego overdrive, we are not actually listening, right? And we tend to preach and they're not like listening, and it's not connecting to them on a deeper level. We really want to be, connecting with them and navigating the real conversations and speaking to them as humans, right? And not just a number sign. So having those conversations. And then one of my favorite things is sharing these conversations, because again, it loops right back into sparking conversations, right? So, for an example, like this morning I had a coffee chat, and hopping on your Instagram stories, like, this morning I had a coffee chat and this is what we kind of outlined, or this is what they were struggling with. And it doesn't always have to be like putting your audience on blast, or sharing, screenshotting, and sharing those conversations like with their whole name in there when they just like, poured their heart out to you, but more so like, I've been having these conversations and I'm seeing a common theme here where you're struggling with X, Y, and Z, or this is your current reality in your business right now, or you want to see more of ABC in your business, and really highlighting that. And like I said, it's a whole loop. So, you're sharing these aspects, and then you're all of a sudden seeing an influx of messages like, I feel the same way. And not only does that, minimize the feeling of loneliness as within your ideal client or within your community. But it really helps you, again, like build that trust, build that authority, and really positioning your brand, because however you talk about it is how they're going to perceive you. So you could talk about it as like, so, on your high horse, like, so I helped her with this, and I'm amazing at this, blah, blah, blah. Of course, there's like to an extent where it's like humbly sharing how you're able to support your clients, but then there's also like they didn't know anything and I taught them all of these things kind of approach. So it's so important to kind of navigate like from your perspective on how you'd like to position yourself and how you like to share these aspects. So I've been loving our conversation today about personal branding, about positioning, about, breaking down these mental obstacles when it comes to your personal brand. I'd love for you to share, any last minute takeaways when it comes to personal branding or, emotional well-being when it comes to building your personal brand.
Love this. Absolutely. Thank you, Vicky.
Mhm.
I think if there is only one advice that you're gonna take away from this absolutely insights-worthy, absolutely brilliant episode that we just did, I feel like it's way easier than you think you are. Uh, Building a personal brand, posting consistently on social, building your social media presence is not a rocket science. Like believe us, we've done that. That's way easier than you think you are. But the hardest thing, absolutely the hardest thing, is getting started. Is showing
Mhm.
up for your personal brand when nobody's watching and you feel like you're just talking again to the wall. There is absolutely nobody. You're posting a story, there is a complete silence. You're posting your first 5, 7, 10 reels, and it's only hitting like 10 views. You obviously get very frustrated because you had all of these high expectations of how it's going to go. Release those expectations. It's fine. It's only gonna suck for a few moments until it gets better. And it does get better. We guarantee you it does get better.
Yes.
Be open to experimenting, be open to trying, be open to learning new things from different resources. There is an abundance of resources available. So be open to failing and trying again when it comes
Mhm.
to building a personal brand.
Yes. My piece of advice for those who are tuning in is like stop putting yourself in a box, right? Because whatever you see in the online space, like you don't necessarily have to fit into a certain type of box. Like maybe you're introverted and you see a lot of successful and a lot of incredible extroverted people, but doesn't mean that there aren't also successful introverted people as well. So really like get yourself out of this narrative, whatever narrative you're telling yourself, and embrace your own personal brand and take your time to work on yourself and your story. And if that takes sitting down, and I love your piece of advice, like sit down and map all of these things out and start from like when you first made your first dollar, right? And to now, and break things down year by year. I love your piece of advice on that. So, you know, yeah, take it from us. Again, you're always ever evolving and you are always going to learn more about yourself. You might sit down one day and think, oh, wow, I had this whole part of my life that I haven't even showcased or shared yet. I definitely want to lean more into this in my messaging in the near future. Do it, lean into it if it feels right, if it's aligned to you, it's authentic to you, lean into it. So, I would love for you to share with those who are tuning in where they can find you and, what are some things happening in your world right now and how they can work with you.
Sure. So the best way to reach me would be on Instagram at Daria AST. I couple of days ago, I just released my very first YouTube video. It's about how to find your niche and how to get started posting on Instagram. So come check it out as well. Just type in Daria AST and you should find me on YouTube as well. That would be the best way. And I also have a course about how to build your personal brand and how to monetize it. It's called IG Wells. Super proud of my baby there. So yeah, would love to see you all as well.
Yay, thank you so much. I loved our conversation. I will definitely tag everything in your show notes, but thank you so much for being on here today.
Thank you, Vicky. You are absolutely incredible.
Thanks.